Yeah, you're on the Hillbilly Voodoo channel. This week's episode, there will be fire. There will be explosions. There will be all kinds of other exciting things to compete with the presidential election, because we will be loading this video somewhere around that time, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to get lost in the mayhem. Stick around, see what we have to do to keep you entertained. Well, anyways, enough with that crap. In this episode, we are going to tackle the elephant in the room, I guess you could say. Our approach angle. Front bumper, front part of the frame is pretty much right in line with our big, huge hillbilly party balloon here. It is below center axle. Doesn't need to be that low. Wasn't really planning on leaving it like that. You guys weren't thinking I was you? Were you? Well, anyways, we're going to raise this somewhere up into here so that the leading edge of the tire will be contacting whatever we're trying to drive over or run into, or yeah, you guys probably understand where I'm going here. So let's take a better look at what we got to do to this frame to get our front end of the frame from here somewhere up into this area here. So as you can see, what we currently have going on here is the frame rail is pretty much in line with the tire. Frame rail is below the axle, which I did on purpose because I want to keep the center of gravity of this machine fairly low. Now, the approach angle, that's a whole different story. The approach angle right now is, yeah, not very good. We're going to end up hitting bumper, or very close to hitting bumper, before we hit tire, which we don't really want to do. We'd rather have the tire climb over whatever we're going to be trying to climb over, which if you're trying to climb up onto a ledge or something, if you can get the front of that tire touching the ledge, then it'll grab and pull you up on top. You guys kind of following along here? Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of my subscribers already know what I'm talking about. So what I want to do is cut this frame somewhere in this area here and bend it up so that this front part of our frame is pretty much right in line with the center of that tire, maybe slightly above the center of that tire, somewhere in there probably. So we're going to have to cut that frame, notch it, bend it up so that we're kind of on that angle. Yeah, somewhere on that angle there. I don't really know what that angle is. I have an angle finder, but for some reason it measures the angle right on one side and not right on the other side and all that other stuff. I do have this protractor thingy here, so we're going to try to figure out how we can duplicate the cut on both sides of this frame without totally cutting through and bending it up. And yeah, see, I told you there's going to be all kinds of excitement in this episode. So let's first determine where we're going to chop this frame off at. So if you've been following along on this build, you know that our axles are adjustable forward and backwards because we're running a Robson drive. The tires have to go back and rub against the Robson drive. So in order for us to be able to adjust that later on, change ratios, all that other stuff, yeah. You guys should probably subscribe if you're a little bit lost right now. Go back and check out the rest of the build, and it'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. But anyways, this axle is adjustable forward and rear. So where we're going to cut this frame and notch it has got to be at the furthest point that this can travel. So what do we got for the furthest point that this can travel? 2.5 inches that can travel. So from the front of that point to here, 2.5 inches. let's make a mark here. And that will tell us that we can't do anything behind that mark. That's not a very good mark. Let's find a felt pen. Let's mark that there with the felt pen. And that tells us that we can't cut behind that. We got to cut ahead of that. So let's set up our little stick here and see if we can measure our stick with this little protractor thing. Got our little stick set up here on my wheelie chair. Why did I use a wheelie chair? Because a wheelie chair is adjustable up and down. It makes a perfect thing that I can set it pretty much wherever I need it to within a few inches, right? So that's kind of the angle that I'm hoping to achieve here. Trying to get the top of the bumper or top of the frame up to about there. So I'm going to measure this angle here with this little angle finder protractor thingamabobber here, and hopefully it will work. This here tool was given to my grandfather when he was 13 years old by his grandfather. So this thing is well over 100 years old. Yeah, kind of a weird thing for you to think about, using tools that have been around, well, yeah, forever. So what does that say? Is that even going to give us what we need? It says 20 degrees. So, is that right on? Yeah, 20 degrees. So now, if I take this, scribe a line down here at 90 degrees, come ahead and come off of that. I'm going to need to take the chunk out of there, right? Come down in a pie. So, gonna have to go 10 degrees and 10 degrees to pinch that together. That is if my math is making sense. Pinch that together, that stays the same. 10 degrees. Don't know if I'm gonna be able to set up the camera where you guys can watch me mark this or not, but let's try this out here. So this is gonna be kind of a weird angle here because I'm a big dude and there's a lot of me to get in the way. So we have our line that we can't go behind. So I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'm going to give myself another ½ inch or so to the cut. So let's go 20 inches from the front to be on the safe side here. Inches. Let's grab another square. Let's grab some lines here. Hopefully my eyes will be able to see them. Any of you YouTuber people out there have a line on lights for a shop? I had some LED lights in here, but for some reason they react with the camera and everything gets all flickery. And my shop is cold usually in the winter, and fluorescent lights don't usually ignite and light very well. So if you guys have suggestions on lights, it would be greatly appreciated. You could leave a comment in the comment section. So now we need to go from that point there on a 10-degree down, and then from the bottom 10 degrees, yeah. So let's go 90 degrees minus 10. Have to get this in here. Some way that we can mark that. It's the wrong way. Let's turn it the other way. That. We'll go 10 degrees off of 90 on the other direction. Make a line right in the center, just for reference. And then I'll mark the back side with the V in the same place. I know my fat head's going to be in the way, so I won't even bother you with looking at this. Now, if I've done this right and measured right, when I cut this little V out of here, we should be able to bend this up, and it should be at the right angle, I hope, if my math is mathing right. So, yeah. We'll mark all this out on the other side, exactly the same, and get to cutting. So I got our little V notch marked out here on both sides now. I'm going to take my angle grinder, cut that down to that point, cut it up to that point, take that chunk out of there, and then we're going to bend this whole frame up on that. Hopefully this is going to work. Hopefully I got my measurements right. Yeah. And for the Florida family, in case you're wondering what winter looks like, because you've been down there so long, you've forgotten. Yeah, this is just the start of it. Woke up this morning to all this yucky, white, sloppy crap all over the ground. And you know, it's only a few days after Halloween, so we're in for another, oh, I'd say six months or so of this. But yeah, let me grab my grinder and let's start chopping on that frame. Now that we got our little pie pieces cut out here on both sides, I got a jack jammed underneath the front of there, and we're gonna crank on that jack, twist that up, and hopefully we can get those gaps to close up, and then we'll weld them together. Our gaps are all closed up there now, and kind of looks like we're pretty close to what I was hoping for. A little bit of, well, I would say that the bottom of that frame rail is pretty much right through the center of that axle. So I think that's about as close as we're gonna get. If for some reason it's not what I want, well, no, it is what I want. I'm gonna weld it there, and that's what where we're gonna leave it. Got our gaps all welded up there now, and looks like our frame is in the spot that we need it to be. Well, now that it has stopped snowing out there, I think we're gonna go up and scavenge the pieces that we need to finish, or at least start working on mounting our brake calipers onto the front axle here. You can see, for those of you that have been following along on this project, we modified these rotors to fit on the 1-ton hubs, BMW rotors. Again, you should probably subscribe, go back and watch some of the other parts of this build. So anyways, let's go up, and I will show you the pieces that we're going to use to build some brake calipers for this thing. So let's go for a ride up back here, and I'll show you what we're going to use for brake parts. You know, winter has only been here for like 5 minutes, and it's already annoying me already. I wish it would either just freeze or just go away. Like, all this sloppy stuff is, yeah, it's disgusting. It's not very much fun at all. But anyways, I guess we got a few months of it left, so I'm gonna have to deal with it. So for those of you just finding my channel, this here is the Smart Tank. It is a chassis that I've built with tracks, and yeah, if you're just finding the channel, hit that subscribe button, go back and check out this thing. This thing is pretty cool. But anyways, it's gonna get its parts donated for this current project, our ultimate ATV Sherp style buggy. We're gonna steal some known working pieces off of this machine, because we know the steering works in this. It steers awesome. It spins around on a dime. It does its thing. So we're going to steal the known working parts off of this. We're going to put it onto our new machine so that we know that it's going to steer. What we have on here are brake calipers off of a mid-80s Toyota 4x4 pickup. Yeah, mid-80s. Anywhere in the Tacoma era or previous. I don't know about all the other ones, but the Tacoma era and the previous Hilux trucks, yeah, that's a mouthful, have a 4-piston caliper and brake pads that you can just pull little pins out and reload the pads without taking the whole thing apart. I have found very good results using these brake calipers. Like I say, they're a 4-piston caliper, which is kind of a rare thing on just a normal vehicle. And so what we got to do here is peel these wheels off with the tracks on them so that we can get those calipers off of there. And we're also going to take the steering mechanism. Now, that right there is the steering mechanism. We have two levers connected to clutch master cylinders out of early mid-80s Toyota trucks. They have a 5/8" bore, which you wouldn't think was a very large bore, but in order to activate the pistons in those calipers and have optimum pressure, I found that a 5/8" bore, smaller bore, like that's not huge if you think about it, that's usually smaller around than your thumb. A 5/8" bore gives you more pressure on the caliper and locks up the wheel quicker. So we're going to steal this stuff out of here. I don't know how much of it I'm going to be able to film because it's starting to rain and snow again here, but and my camera ain't waterproof. So first task is to peel the wheels off and get at those calipers. So unfortunately, one thing I didn't consider till now was that these are not vented rotors. And they're a fair amount smaller or thinner this way than the rotors that we have modified for our machine. So I'm not 100% sure whether these calipers are going to fit over those rotors. So we took one off. So we better take that thing down there and make sure it's going to fit before we even bother taking the other one off. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So this here's the part that I didn't really think about. This rotor is vented, like I said, and it's wide. Like, yeah, whatever that is. Guess it really doesn't matter how wide it is. But what we have going on here with this brake caliper is even if we could get these pads to force back, another, I don't know, 1/4 inch or more, even if we could get the pads to force back that far, the casting of the rotor or of the caliper itself is not wide enough. So, what are we gonna do? Well, we spent a hell of a lot of time and energy doing those rotors, but we don't have any other calipers that will fit over them. So they're really not much good to us. Now I took one of the rotors off of the Smart Tank. It is a modified, again modified rotor from a Toyota pickup. The front four-wheel drive. I re-drilled it for a 5-bolt pattern. So what am I going to do? I'm going to weld all these holes up. I'm going to re-drill it for an 8-bolt pattern because we know that this all this stuff works. Like, it works. It's proven, it's done its thing. Use it quite a bit. Welding up the holes is not a big deal because we had to do that on the BMW rotors. So I'm going to weld these up. I'm going to bore that out. But I'm not going to bore you with any of this stuff because we've already done it in the last episode or in a previous episode. So I'm going to take these two rotors and I'm going to modify them the same way that we modified those BMW ones. And we're going to stick them in here. It's about the only idea that I can come up with because the piles of ground titanium don't have any calipers in them. These are the two calipers that we have. Yeah. Now I know I promised you guys fire and explosions in this episode, so here you go. And here's your explosion. Now, unlike all the rest of the political candidates in the whole entire world, I didn't lie to you. It was your expectations that let you down. So until next time, guys, use what you got to make what you want. I'll see you later.